was sneaking up this ORV trail, and like I mentioned earlier, it's been raining all day yesterday, overnight, and it's still kind of on and off raining right now. And I just stumbled up on a fresh scrape. Must have been walking that same trail this morning. I'm in some pretty good security cover with some oaks and stuff around it. I found a lot of buck sign in here last year, rubs and stuff. So, I'm gonna act like I'm making a scrape as well. I have a set of small rattling antlers. So, what I'm gonna do is paw the ground like I'm a buck making. And I might rake those antlers in the trees, see if we can get him come out. Figure if he's fired up enough to rip up that trail, he might be fired up enough to come respond. The scrape is over here like, I don't know, 15 yards. So, I probably gave that about, 5 or 10 minutes after I did that calling sequence. I was kind of anticipating him to try to circle down when, if he heard that sound, there's a bull below me right here with a good side trail on the side hill. I figured maybe I was like get a frontal shot or something right here at 10 yards, but it's a good sign. I'm working into this general area with the wind in my face, and it's a northwest wind today, and I'm accessing from the east, so I found a really nice hot scrape like that right on the fringes of it. I'm only anticipating that there's going to be more buck sign, and hopefully he's still around. I mean, he could have made this scrape at daybreak. That was probably a half hour ago, and he might be a half mile away. You never know. But I'm thinking this general area, it's got everything that these bucks want, and he's probably not the only one in here. So I'm gonna keep repeating this process. If I find a good spot where I can set up with decent cover, I'm gonna make a calling sequence, see if we can drum one up. So. Behind me there's a grass and fern bowl where there were some doe and fawn tracks. And then that kind of comes up in elevation, kind of like a draw. And there's a transition line between select cut and mostly like more mature popple with a few oaks mixed in. But then on the head of this ravine is kind of a decent hillside. It goes from real steep coming up there to kind of tapering off. And I'm anticipating that there's trails at the head of that ravine. I've been sitting here since 9 o'clock. Kind of placing my bet on a mid-morning cruiser buck coming through, but haven't seen anything yet. There's fresh tracks around here. It's been raining quite a bit, so either they were moving right at daylight or maybe even before. The wind did kick up after daylight, so it was pretty calm overnight, so maybe they were out moving around when it was calmer yet, so I don't know. I'd like to sit here till 10 o'clock and then just kind of keep working my way through this area, maybe find a spot where I can saddle hunt, possibly this evening or maybe Saturday, who knows. But I don't know, it's gonna make conditions real good with everything damp and this wind. It's blowing leaves down and stuff, so maybe sneak up on one yet today. That's my second scrape I've found so far. I'm kind of in between two big ridges, and then there's some bowls, and the saddle back there had historical buck sign, but nothing fresh. Sorry. So then once I got on that west ridge, all of a sudden I hit a trail that actually had fresh tracks on it, and it brought me down to here. So I don't know. Fresh sign has been pretty hard to find so far. I don't know. Keep on it. See if we find any more buck sign, or I'd like to jump a deer at least or something to confirm that they're actually in here during daylight. But let's go. So where I last was talking is about, 100 yards back to the west. Basically, it's going along the edge of this old select cut. There's still some mature oaks in there, but there's no acorns that I can find. And I've walked a pretty good amount already this morning. I've only heard a couple black squirrels, and the one I heard was over here. That's kind of why I walked over here in the first place, thinking, maybe there's some acorns, but I think I found something better than a squirrel. It's another scrape. So the other ones are back that way, and it's coming along this transition edge. It's hitting this one. And then that first one that I found this morning when I was walking in is in that direction. So I'm thinking I kind of got a line on this buck for the scrape line, but next question is, how do you set up on him? And is he doing it during daylight? That'd be something to ponder for tonight. But I don't know. Seems like I got on that hot sign right away, and then if you veer off to the left or right 10 yards, it looks like there hasn't been a deer walking in that woods all year. So, I don't know. It's kind of the fun part and the challenging part of hunting big woods. It's not like you're hunting private land with fence lines where you got stuff kind of naturally following the deer. You got to get a little creative out here. So this is still kind of lining up with that direction of travel with those scrapes. And interestingly enough, I found a spot within probably 45 yards downwind of where that last scrape was in the popple trees, thinking that buck was laying there. After he had made it, see if anything was going to come in. I think I've seen everything I need to see. Obviously, there's either one or two or a few bucks hanging around here. There must be quite a few does. I did cut those doe and fawn tracks early this morning. So, yeah. Hopefully it keeps raining, wash some of the scent away. Maybe I'll sneak back in here this evening and try to hunt it. Or possibly Saturday evening. I'll probably head back to the truck, eat a quick lunch, and go walk another spot, trying to find some more hot sign. That way I got options in case something happens, because it is public land. People can hunt wherever you want, so. Plus there's a bunch of upland bird hunters up here too, so. Well, I'm on my afternoon scouting mission. I've never actually walked this little section before. But look what I'm greeted with. Toro scrapes with really fresh scat. There's a cutting over to my right, and another cutting to my left, and then going up in elevation into more mature timber. Not sure that what makes me feel about my original spot. I mean, I'm happy with the amount of buck sign over there now, but I think it's generally a good thing that I'm seeing more scraping activity in a different spot. But I should probably get off this, because I bet that deer ain't that far. So we're set up. That last hot scrape that I found during my little scouting mission this morning is about 60 yards that way. I'm on the predominant downwind side, having a little bit of swirling action. I'm on the edge of this bowl over here. Hopefully it'll straighten out. Yeah, I felt like this was a better idea. I didn't really have a decent sized tree or the cover that I wanted to get in over there. Plus there's kind of a spur ridge coming off that higher stuff, and there's a big trail, well worn down, a lot of years used, through that popple woods. So the transition edge is right behind the camera, and we might have deer come kind of off that edge behind us. Down here it's a different browse type. It's like inside the popples. It's a lot more younger trees and briars and stuff like that. didn't have the shading of these more mature trees, so it's a little open down there. There's a lot of browse pressure, and that's where that big rub was too, so hopefully you see something tonight. I think that's about it for camera light tonight. I saw one black squirrel, one chipmunk, no deer. The wind continues to push and pull back. I didn't hear anything blow, but had on and off rain as well. Hopefully some other the guys at camp saw some other deer. Currently don't have cell service, so it's gonna be a surprise when I get back to my truck. I had one bar there, so I don't know. He'll be packing up here shortly. Morning. Overnight it was clear skies, dead calm. I got in here this morning. I bumped one deer off that original scrape. Made a couple bounds and must have worked off, didn't stop, didn't blow at me. And it was like ridiculously calm for the first hour and a half this morning, where you could hear individual leaves falling off the trees. Still no deer sightings. The day winds are starting to turn on a little bit. According to the hourly, it's probably going to be another 2.5 hours maybe before it starts raining, so hopefully that'll get these deer moving up and something will work this scrape line and transition edge. Let's hope. Well, sat till 10:30, did not see a single deer. I don't understand it. I guess my plan going forward now is get down, get out of here, call my buddy Mitch, who's hunting not that far that way, probably like a mile and a half. See what the weather's gonna do. If it's gonna start raining, we might just jump in the truck and just drive either this general area or a totally different section of public, and maybe we'll get a break in the weather and it won't be raining this evening, or we'll just hop out and do some still hunting on the ground or something. I don't know. I can't sit here any longer. I've sat in this spot for 7 hours now between the last two sits, and they say to hunt hot sign. I had fresh scrapes that were made yesterday morning, and there's nothing here, so I don't know. Without the acorns, I feel like these deer don't really have to move far. There's a bunch of browse in the cutovers and old cuts, so if there isn't a buck cruising or does moving for acorns from bedding to oak flats, then I don't know. So don't get too high, don't get too low, just keep going, I guess. So the rain held off, but we're doing something a little bit different. There's a grouse. Mitch and I went on the top side of this cutting. My cousin Dave is on the downwind side of this, so we're going to try to wind bump all this stuff. Maybe encourage a deer to get up and go past them, because Mitch and I both had it. We're not going to sit and try to wait on these deer. We're going to get in here in the thick stuff where they don't want to leave. We're either gonna jump them and push them out of here, or maybe get lucky and have one stand up and give us a shot. So the plan is to meet down in that direction on a saddle to see what the trails and stuff are. It's pretty crazy in here though, because you get on any of these old skidder trails, the deer have taken them over and made them their own little highways. Most of this stuff's like, I don't know, 15 foot tall, but it's super thick. Basically, they're a little safe haven, but they've been doing so much logging around here that majority of this public land in this area looks like this rather than mature oak woods. So makes hunting a little bit difficult, to say the least. So you got to do some crazy off the wall stuff like this sometimes to see if something works. But so case in point, I didn't walk more than 40 yards and I'm on this old skittered logging trail. And I know it doesn't look like much because they don't have it busted down to fresh dirt, but they're ripping this up. That's a pretty decent track in there. Scrape in and amongst this. Now your average bow hunter, that's going to be in a tree, has zero options here. So, I mean, like, look at these historical rubs. Ancient. Here's a deer trail coming through this stuff. That's a bunch of young maple and popple back there. Basically, these deer are just browsing on this. You see the tips off that briars. So, basically, they're living in here and eating in here. And the bucks really aren't cruising yet, so they really don't have a reason to leave this security cover. And like, they got all this stuff knocked down. Hey, little buddy, where you going? doing a little still hunting on a different piece of public. Mitch is to the east of me. We're kind of working to the south. Gonna meet up and then do a big J hook. The way that we're kind of walking in right now, the wind's at our back, so kind of making a beeline south and then turn and get a little wider going east, be east and west of each other, and then work our way back north. Running into a lot of buck sign. It's a pretty cool piece of public. It's real diverse. You got red pine, white pine, red oaks, beech, some mature poplar in the mix, maple. Super diverse, and we've only been on this old 2-track for maybe 300 yards, and that's probably our 7th scrape we found today, and one rub that had shavings on top of the popple leaves, so that's been made in the last few days. So it's pretty tight in here. Maybe we'll walk up on something. Got good wind cover too. Looks like the dirt's damp, like something just pissed in it. It's super thick in here. You got all these little deer trails that you're just kind of creeping on. But these deer could be literally laying anywhere, and there's oaks mixed in that have acorns, so. Quite the scrape. You can see that he hit this because you can see all the dirt on the leaves yet right here. Kind of on a slight slope of a ridge heading down to a lower point on an old logging trail. Beech brush further up in there, it's so dang thick that I think the deer were kind of avoiding it. There was very little to none deer trails. Once it kind of got thinner, you would find one that was kind of parallel on the super thick stuff, but I don't know. It's a neat way to hunt, a neat way to learn, because every step you're taking, you're just going to be that more likely to find new deer sign.
Thanks for tuning in the Rewa Report. Hope you guys like this content. If you could, like, subscribe, share it with a friend, and we'll see you back here next time.